shoot. So I reached out to him many times, sent him text.
Sorry. All right. I don't know when this segment on First Take took place. I believe that it was around the time when Ben Roethlisberger made these comments where he was expressing that he tried to contact Antonio Brown after the fallout between Antonio Brown and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It could have been a little later, but I believe it was around that time. But I just wanted to give some of my thoughts. And I made videos in the past about this whole AB Pittsburgh Ben Roethlisberger situation, and I put a lot of the blame on the Pittsburgh organization. I think that the culture that they have in that locker room is so toxic that it was toxic when Antonio Brown got there. And to be honest, Antonio Brown is just a byproduct of the issues that are going on in that locker room. And they're trying to throw it off on him so that way they don't look to blame. But I also said that Antonio Brown is not helping the situation because he keeps running his mouth, he keeps doing dumb shit, and he keeps, like, this whole helmet thing. At this point, we all know about the helmet, lawsuit or something like that, or appeal, where Antonio Brown wants to use his helmet he's been using for years, and they're trying to transition into, a safer type helmet. But he wants a grace period, which they already gave him a grace period for his helmet last year. But he wants another one because he found, a more recent model than the one that he had before. So he needs a grace period with that one. So shit like this, makes him look culpable. But again, it's just the media spin on the whole situation. A lot of people love the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people love Ben Roethlisberger. A lot of people love Mike Tomlin. A lot of people are annoyed by Antonio Brown. So they're doing whatever they can to paint Antonio Brown as the issue. And he's not. It's the Steeler organization that's the issue. And I've also stated, and I'm going to say this real quick and I'm going to start the video, but I also stated that when I look at Ben Roethlisberger, when I listen to him talk, when I watch his mannerisms, when I watch the things he says and how he says them, this dude comes across to me as a emotionless robot. Like, this guy is, I don't want to call him a sociopath because I don't know him personally, but I get vibes of narcissism just oozing out of this guy. And then when you have players that used to play for the team that will say things about Ben Roethlisberger, certain things about Ben Roethlisberger, it just reaffirms that idea that I have in my head. And you're going to see. Listen to him talk. Listen to what he says. Watch how he says certain things. He just oozes that vibe of psycho. All right, so I'm going to start it.
Third party that there were issues, so I reached out to him many times, sent him texts, sent him calls. And this is all before the season was over, and never heard back. And so I could never really find out what was going on. So for me, that's why it was so confusing. I didn't know where it came from. I would have loved to have had the chance to talk to him, and that's why I said yesterday, whatever I did to offend him, I apologize for it. I tried to do that in person and talk to him, but he just wouldn't allow me to.
All right, before Max gets started, because I'm pretty sure Max is going to go first. Before he gets started, let me just say this. I believe that, and I'm not saying what I'm about to say, my opinion about this, I'm not saying that it's 100% facts. It's just my opinion. But I believe Ben Roethlisberger when he says that he doesn't know where it came from. All right? On the flip side, the reason why I believe that is because he has been coddled so much, and he has been led to believe by that organization so much that he can say what he want, he can do what he want, he can just fucking throw anybody under the bus that he wants to, and he will never have to be held accountable for his actions. And when you have it, and I like to use the kid example when I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that's all I see is a bunch of childish behavior. When you have a kid and you allow them to do certain things, even if other people don't consider them to be right or don't consider them to be appropriate behavior. All right, like let's say you have a kid, you let him. Let's say you have a small kid and you allow him every single day to eat his lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever, on the floor in front of the TV, and if he makes a mess, you clean it up. every single time. And then if you take that kid over to somebody's house and you let them babysit that kid, and he starts doing that, even though the person's house he goes over, they eat at the table, they eat in the kitchen, they clean up after themselves. And when he starts doing the things that he does at home, the kid is confused, man, because he's used to a certain way of living. So when you put him in a different environment where he's forced to adjust how he does certain things, he's confused. He doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't think that he's wrong. He doesn't think anything of what he's doing. He thinks that it's just a normal thing. And I believe Ben Roethlisberger believes his actions are normal because for some reason they have allowed him to believe that they are normal. Throwing your coach under the bus, that is normal behavior. Saying whatever you want about whoever on your team, that's normal behavior. I mean, that locker room, that organization, Pittsburgh has issues. And if you think it's Antonio Brown, you're sadly mistaken. And now that Antonio Brown is gone, most likely they're going to try to pin the blame on Mike Tomlin. They tried to do it before, but Antonio Brown gave them a perfect out.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take on a Wednesday. The crew all in tow. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Graham. How we feeling? How we living?
Thank you, brother.
And real quick, he said that he felt like he lost a friend. Ben Roethlisberger said that he felt like he lost a friend in Antonio Brown. Antonio, I don't know if they showed that clip yet because I saw part of the clip where he lost a friend. Bro, he was never your friend. Y'all were never friends, ever, ever. Y'all were never friends. But see, Ben Roethlisberger is one of those guys that think that his people he considered to be friends are the people that are going to do whatever he says. Whenever, like, I'm pretty sure a lot of us have those friends where they think they know what's best for everybody, even though most likely they don't. But in their mind, they think that them having them thinking that they know what's best for everybody benefits everybody, And I guess in a way, they look at, their underlings as friends. I mean, I know a few people like that. And, I think Ben Roethlisberger is obviously one of those people.
How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm all right. I don't get one?
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Still waking up. We ready to do this?
Always.
Okay. The Steelers have been airing out all their dirty laundry over the past year. Well, Big Ben was trying to clean things up, telling Michelle Tafoya he regrets criticizing AB's play publicly on the radio because it ruined their friendship. Antonio.
No, he regrets. The reason why he regrets saying what he said is because he didn't think it was anything wrong with what he was saying. He's used to doing this. Ben Roethlisberger is used to doing this. You go back and look at old clips of Ben Roethlisberger railing Mike Tomlin to the media, like during like team media sessions and shit like that. Go look at that. That is normal shit for him. He regrets it because he didn't believe that he was doing anything out of the ordinary. He didn't think that he was doing anything wrong, man. And look at this. Antonio Brown, never friends, just had to get my ends. Shut up already. Which pretty much amount to, we were never friends. We never really even liked each other. You were just a really great quarterback. I was a great wide receiver. Our connection was so potent that it turned me into one of the league's best receiver. And that was it. That was the extent. We don't fucking brunch on fucking Saturdays. We don't go fucking hiking, fucking surfing, and all this other shit, skiing in the fucking off season. Like, we don't do shit like that. We're not friends, bro. Like, that's pretty. I'm telling you, Ben Roethlisberger's has serious issues, man. He has serious issues.
The floor is yours. Tweeting this: never friends, just had to get my ends. Shut up already. Okay then, Max, who do you think looks worse here? Is it Big Ben or AB?
The answer is actually Big Ben. AB is reacting.
Thank you. But we all know Stephen A. is going to disagree because of his love affair with Mike Tomlin and his love for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's a Big Ben here. Mm-hmm. Ben Roethlisberger, don't forget, once upon a time was a guy out of all the young quarterbacks in football. You go, him. That's the guy. I like the cut of his jib. That's the guy I'd want as my quarterback with the game on the line. his standing in history actually is somewhat reliant on that feeling about him.
Yeah.
That's a bad thing for him to be wasting on AB. AB is not a franchise quarterback. I sometimes am on here criticizing him, saying he wishes he could throw the football, but that's not what he does. He's simply not as important as the quarterback. But when you are a franchise quarterback, what did Uncle Ben say? With great power comes great responsibility.
Well, if you're gonna say
It's also in the Bible, but I like
if you're gonna
Spider-Man.
if you're gonna bring up Uncle.
And that's the one thing I disagree with what Max is saying. Look, let's not decrease the value of people. Okay? Just because running backs doesn't have the same importance that they used to have 30 years ago, and wide receivers don't have the same importance, like having a great wide receiver isn't the same as it was like 10, 20 years ago, doesn't mean that they're not important. Doesn't mean that you don't need them. Because I'm pretty sure if you talk to any quarterback that went from having an all-time great wide receiver to a guy that barely made the team and throwing them the ball, there's a significant difference, man. There's a significant difference. Just like at running back. There's a difference between handing the ball off to a player like 20, 25 times that could get you 150 to 200 yards versus handing the ball 20 to 25 times and he could barely crack 75 yards. All right, there's a difference, man. Different feel.
Ben, could you at least tell people the movie? I know it's Spider-Man. You know it's Spider-Man. But stop assuming everyone else knows.
I know
it's
it as
point
the
is-
Bible, but yes.
All right.
The point is, more is expected of a franchise quarterback. And don't give me this passive-aggressive nonsense like, oh, I didn't know. She just asked me a question. Michelle Tafoya, if you're going to sit down with Michelle Tafoya on a national stage, on an interview, what do you think? She's not going to ask you questions like
she's
that?
a vet.
I guest hosted Pardon the Interruption with Michelle Tafoya 17 years ago. And she had her reps in back then. Stop. So he knows what he's getting into. The reason you sit down for that interview is to message, is to spin. So on the one hand, Stephen A., he's sitting there going, oh, I regret it. And then came I was listening for it, but I regret it, but it's his fault. I threw out the same challenge to our other receiver taken in the second round receiver who's going to be really good. And he thanked me for it. Why didn't AB? You'd have to ask him.
Because Antonio Brown is on a different level than Juju Smith-Schuster. And like I said, man, Juju seems like a good kid. He seems respectful. He seems like all he wants to do is just play the game he loves, live probably the best life that he possibly can live with the people that he cares about. And that's the most important thing to him. To Antonio Brown, it's about being great. It's about taking this shit to a different level. It's about being deified. That's what it's about for him. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, man. I mean, as long as you're happy and as long as you're living the best life you possibly can without hurting other people, all for it, man. All for it. But there are two different mindsets. You're talking about Juju Smith-Schuster, who has the potential to be one of the most explosive wide receivers in the NFL, versus Antonio Brown, who is already the most explosive wide receiver in the NFL. Two different people, two different mindsets, two different egos. You can't sit there and say certain things to Juju and expect to be able to say the same things to Antonio Brown and get the same response. To be honest, I don't even think Ben Roethlisberger is respected like that in that locker room. Maybe Juju respects him. Maybe that's why he bows down to him in a way. And I don't want to say bow down like some kind of subservient thing, but in a way it is. I'm pretty sure Antonio Brown is not scared of Ben Roethlisberger. I believe he believes that he can go anywhere else and have the same amount of success as he had in Pittsburgh. If the Oakland Raiders one season makes it to the Super Bowl, he has officially done more with the Oakland Raiders than he was able to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers as far as the team goals go. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers is one of the most disappointing teams year in and year out. They talk about the Cowboys, but if you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're constantly, every year, one of the most talented teams in the NFL, and they never do anything.
It's the same thing when he does that all shucks thing in front of the reporters right there. Do I regret it? Ben is the one with the weekly radio spot, not AB. Ben is the one putting out the quotes that AB's responding to. And by the way, Antonio Brown deleted the tweet. He thought better of it. More is expected of Ben Roethlisberger as a franchise quarterback, and he is doing a passive-aggressive number on Antonio Brown right now.
You're wrong. You're wrong, and you're missing it in my estimation. I take no pleasure in saying this because I personally like Antonio Brown, but he looks worse and worse with each passing day because the things that he has done is indicative of an individual who has taken divaness, for lack of a better word, to another.
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger is not a diva. Ben Roethlisberger, the guy that literally goes to the media and talks shit about his head coach, he's not a diva in any fucking way. And can I say this, man? Like, it seems like we are completely reserved in a game of football. We completely reserved the identity of a diva to be an African American wide receiver. When you do have some divas that are not African American or wide receivers. Johnny Manziel coming into the NFL before he while he was at Texas A&M, and he was a diva there. He came to the NFL, tried that diva shit, didn't work. Baker Mayfield, it's a fucking diva, man. My classification for a diva is a person with an extreme amount of confidence or arrogance, and they're almost flamboyantly arrogant or cocky or confident. Just flamboyantly, like all over the fucking place, man. That's my idea of a diva. And they think that they're above, others. Like when Baker Mayfield came out and told Duke Johnson, either you get on the train or the shit is moving without you. Bro, you're a second-year guy. Okay? You're a second-year guy. You didn't even make the playoffs last year. I mean, you had a good season. Plenty of players had good seasons. But you are not at that level where you can start telling people who's been in the league longer than you to either submit to the fucking program or, get the fuck out. Like, bro, you're not even at that level yet, man. Come on. That's a diva. All right? Ben Roethlisberger is a fucking diva, man. Let's not kid ourselves here.
Level. This is what he has been doing. Excuse me, Juju Smith-Schuster didn't say anything about him. You saw how he went at Juju Smith-Schuster. He goes at anybody who
Again, I'm not going to say that I condone what Antonio Brown did. I think it was a pretty shitty thing for him to go after Juju. But if you look at the reasons why he went after Juju, you understand. When you're being challenged, when you've worked your entire career to get to a certain plateau and you're being challenged and people are trying to knock you off for this other guy who's supposed to, pretty much take over your spot. Antonio Brown strikes me as a very competitive person. And if there's somebody that wants to take over your spot, you instantly, and it's not even the other guy's fault, but you don't like them. They are a competitor at that point. They are a competitor. When people came out and said that Jimmy Garoppolo was moved because it was either him or Tom Brady, and Tom possibly went to Robert Kraft to get Jimmy moved so he could stay. Some part of me believes that. I believe that. Tom is such a competitor. I believe if Bill Belichick had his choice, he would have moved on with Jimmy Garoppolo, and the only way that Tom Brady could, just stay where he was happy was to convince the owner to move Jimmy. I believe that. It seems like I'm not saying it's true. I just believe that could be a possibility. And I believe that Antonio Brown doesn't like Juju because of all this shit. Sometimes you just get thrown into things. When you're near an explosion, sometimes you take some of the backlash. It just happens.
He disagrees with him in this particular day and age. He is about himself, and that is what he has proven to be. I am not trying to absolve Big Ben Roethlisberger by any stretch of the imagination. I was the guy.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you're trying to absolve the Pittsburgh organization and Mike Tomlin.
guy that spoke to Antonio Brown months ago. I was the guy that came on national television and talked about how Big Ben Roethlisberger is not faultless in any of this. I recognize the fact that...
Wow. So you came out and you said, listen, I understand that Ben Roethlisberger played some part in this, but this is still all on Antonio Brown. It's not the same, man. It's not the same as actually stating what the hell they need to take accountability for. If we're willing to give certain quarterbacks all the credit for success, we have to be willing to give them criticisms for their shortcomings. Just like when we're willing to speak on a player's shortcomings, we have to be willing to to acknowledge the success that sometimes they do have. I mean, you can't be one way with it. Then you just look biased.
There are things that Big Ben Roethlisberger could have done better. They are both at fault. But when the question is asked, who's looking worse? Think about the quote that Antonio Brown put out there. Never friends, just trying to get my ends. In other words, you don't mind, as they said it back in the old days, perpetrating a fraud, acting like you something that you're not, just to get to your ultimate goal. So I might pretend to be cool with you. I might pretend to be your friend. I might pretend to...
So now, for those that are not understanding what the hell he's saying that Antonio Brown faked and perpetrated camaraderie with Ben Roethlisberger, I guess, to further his career. It's almost the same as saying a woman that sleeps her way up the ladder, that type of shit. So you faked friendship, you faked camaraderie just so you could elevate yourself to a position. Now that you don't need that person anymore, now you can just see how you really feel. Okay, that's what AB did. He was like, listen, Ben, we're friends, okay? We're friends, and we're gonna help each other out. I don't know, man. It's far-fetched, bro. It's far-fetched. And Ben Roethlisberger does not seem like the kind of guy that will be friends with somebody like AB, man. They are just two different personalities, man.
To be vibing with you and be getting along with you, but in reality, I really don't like your behind. I'm just trying to get paid.
No, it doesn't mean that.
No. Wait a minute. I'm only going by his quote. I'm not bringing anything else into the equation because
No, you're not going by his quote, because if you were going by his quote, it's pretty simple of what he's alluding to when he says never friends, just trying to get my bag, and and then the rest of the quote. Pretty much what the quote that he stated was, we weren't friends. We didn't like each other. We were linked up. We made the best out of a situation. Now that I'm not there anymore, there's no reason for us to even be talking about each other. My position, as most positions of football players are, is to elevate their career, get paid as much as they can, win if they possibly can, and then move on to the next phase of their life. And I understand that, and I totally respect it.
We're having this subject. We're having this conversation right now because of the exact tweet that Antonio Brown put out in the aftermath of Big Ben Roethlisberger's conversation with Michelle Tafoya. That's all we're doing. All the other stuff that you might bring up, that I might bring up, we've already discussed. We're not debating that. I'm talking about this specific quote. Never friends, just trying to get my ends. In other words, he was never your friend. You were never trying to vibe with him. All you were trying to do was get paid. You ain't give a damn about...
There's a difference between vibing on the field and vibing off the field. What he's probably talking about is vibing at all times. Like, even when they're not playing, they're just so close. They go picnicking together and all types of shit like that. You don't need to do that to be two great players that can play with each other. This is probably not the first time we've seen a wide receiver and a quarterback not like each other, not care about each other, but they play so well on the field together. It's probably not the first time. Most likely won't be the last, man.
Big Ben Roethlisberger. And what I'm saying is that's what can be peeled from this particular
Number one,
quote.
he deleted that tweet. He thought better of it. Number two.
And why do you think that was?
Because he realized.
Because one of two things happened, the reason why he deleted that tweet. One, like Max said, he probably thought that, look, the worst thing I can do in this situation is keep feeding the fire. Let me not say anything, let Ben say whatever he wants, and I'll focus on getting back on the field. Or two, somebody at the Oakland organization is keeping close tabs on Antonio Brown's social media page, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and they're watching everything he says, everything he posts, and whenever he posts anything that could be deemed inappropriate in a way, they're getting them to delete it, and they're trying to what does PR people, they call it damage control. They're trying to do as much damage control as possible. Those are the two situations I could see him deleting that tweet. He's either trying to be away from this situation completely, or Oakland is monitoring everything he says, and they're trying to stop him from saying anything that he doesn't need to even be involved in. And he doesn't need to be involved in this. Let Ben say whatever he wants. Ben is going to say whatever he wants. He's been doing it his entire career, it seems like. So it's time for you to move on, man.
Are you sure it was him?
Going back and forth.
Are you sure it was him, or he was convinced to do it?
Whatever the case may be, there's a difference between friends and friendly. You can go to work and have colleagues and be friendly with them, but your definition of friendship might be different. So he wants to get along.
Yes. Stephen A is talking about friends on the field, off the field, in the facilities. I mean, they're just, when they're around each other, they just gravitate towards each other. But what Max is trying to say is, you don't have to be friends with somebody to be able to work together in a very calm environment and be able to get a job done. Sometimes it's just about being cordial. It's not about being super into each other. It's just about being cordial so you can get a job done. You know, you don't have to be friends with everybody. You don't have to be friends with anybody. But in order to get certain jobs done, when you work with other people, sometimes it takes just a calm demeanor between two people. Being able to just put whatever differences aside, or being able to just ignore all the other bullshit and being able to be considerate to one another. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need to be fucking lifelong friends. You fucking cutting your hand, making some kind of blood oath or some shit like that. You don't need all that. You just need to be cordial with one another.
With his quarterback, of course. By the way, Antonio Brown in the past has been critical of teammates who left and talked about their quarterback. He's talking about that's how you work. You need your. You need to get along with the quarterback.
Let me give you a little context, because research did some digging. 2014. AB tweeting this in response to Twitter question, who's your best friend on the Steelers? AB responded, Big Ben. 2016, posted 4 pics, National Best Friends Day, a hymn with Big Ben.
That flies in the face of what I said.
However, I don't know who we're supporting with that.
Because still, you want to get along with your quarterback. He throws you the ball. How do you work that unless there's some chemistry?
See, what you're talking to me about, you're talking about what it could be interpreted as. Fair. I'm telling you what I believe. And I'm saying to you that when the man says, if somebody that I was teammates with, that I worked with for 6 years, that ultimately we parted on suspect terms, that we've been a back and forth in such and such a way over the last few months, comes out after I go on national television and interview, and I say, I wish you nothing but the best. I'm sorry it didn't work out. And he sits there, and his response to that is, never friends. I'm just about my ends. What that's saying to me is, man, I was never feeling you. I never liked you. You never.
No, like I said, there's a difference between being friends and being friendly. Like Max just said, there's a difference between those two things. And AB strikes me as a lot of guys like him. They want to get paid, man. It's about their money. It's about their money. This is why you'll see players. It's not about. I think it's less about emotional attachment and more about getting paid as much as you can. Where you'll see certain players stay in cities where they could easily go other places, but they stay home because I think now it is a thing where you get paid more if you stay where you are instead of going to free agency and potentially leaving. It's more about the money, man, because I'm pretty sure a lot of these players want to win. But that money, like if you had to tell me you'll have a chance to win a championship, but a trade-off is you have to give up like maybe 50, 60 million. That's a big number, man. For people that didn't have it growing up, that's a big number.
Meant a damn thing to me. You were just a quarterback, and I needed you to throw me the damn football so I could get my numbers and get paid. That's how I'm going to interpret that. I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong. I'm quite sure it can be deduced in that fashion by some people. I'm telling you what I believe. And what I believe, listening to that damn quote, is that he basically said, Ben Roethlisberger, I never really liked you, you know what? I just said what I needed to say so you could continue to throw me the football. I could get these numbers, I could get paid, and I could be gone. I never liked you.
That's human nature, too. You got hurt feelings, especially if you were actually once friends.
Well,
you might say something like that. Look at me, I got paid. I was...
And that could be another reason, man. That could be another reason why AB probably sent that tweet out. Like when I said that it wasn't about Juju, but the fact that people were trying to propel Juju over Antonio Brown as the next big thing, it kind of turned Antonio Brown's targets to Juju, even though it wasn't him. I mean, sometimes what do you call it? Innocent bystanders happen. Collateral damage happens when it's an all-out war. And then this between Antonio Brown and Pittsburgh is an all-out war pretty much, man, because you have everybody just getting in the mix of this shit. You even have former players getting in the mix of this shit. And sometimes collateral damage, sometimes innocent bystanders get hit. And Juju is an innocent bystander. And when feelings are involved, and this is what I said at the beginning of the video, I don't think what I'm saying is 100% facts. I'm just giving my opinion on what I'm saying. And it could be Antonio Brown was friends. No, I'm not going to say friends. Was trying to be that close to Big Ben. And then he possibly could have got hurt at some point down the line with this whole shit. Especially with Big Ben coming out and questioning Antonio Brown's, I guess, work ethic and all this other shit. And he could have took offense to that. And now he's back. He's lashing out. That could be a possibility. But I'm going to stick by what I think. I'm going to stick by my opinion on it. And I think that sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get where you want to be. Even if it's feigning interest. But to be honest, man, like, I think it goes both ways, man. I think it goes both ways. This is why I'm saying everybody needs to take blame. And I'm done with the video after this. But Mike Tomlin needs to take responsibility for the culture he helped develop after Bill Cowher left and he came in. The Pittsburgh organization needs to take responsibility for the fact that they didn't better manage their players. And Ben Roethlisberger needs to take accountability because he has a tendency to rub people the wrong way and throw his teammates and his coaches under the bus. And Antonio needs to take responsibility, man, because he's not looking good in this situation when he continues to keep putting his face out there. Just stop, man. Just stop. Just walk away. You're in Oakland now. Focus on getting back on the field. That's what he needs to be focused on, but he's not. All right, I'm done because I'm about to get a headache. All right.